Changes in climate affect, for example, the plant and animal life of a given area. The presence of cold baths in North America and Europe, along with evidence of glaciation in these same areas, indicates that they must have experienced alternately warmer and colder climates than they now possess. Our major conclusion is that the current measure needs to be revised. It no longer provides an accurate picture of the differences in the extent of economic poverty among population groups or geographic areas of the country, nor an accurate picture of trends over time. An industry or workplace often has its own terms for certain items, places, or groups of people, and university is no different. Here we have attempted to explain some of the terms you may come across on our websites that are specific to higher education. Our information office on campus provided resource and support to help you make the right choices about childcare, whether you're a student, staff, or member of the local community. The office provides information about the 5 centers closest to our campuses, relevant government agency, and other daycare center in the surrounding areas. In order to achieve the free flow of goods and services, with work and capital between the member countries, they needed to establish mutual politics in areas as diverse as agriculture, transport, and when they were concerned with a far wider range of issues. Don't miss the beginning of the lecture, since it is very often most valuable part, for instance, because it reviews previous lectures or outlines objects and lecture structure. If you easily get distracted by other students, sit near the front. The survey found that the statistical chances of someone from a poor background being accepted at one of the country's most respected universities are far lower than those of a student from a wealthy family. This means that the inequalities in society are likely to be passed down from one generation to the next. Quite obviously, a significant rise in the number of people in a given area or country will affect the demand for a whole host of goods and services. Note that a change in the structure of the population will increase the demand for some goods but reduce the demand for others. This course provides an introduction to the history and development of the British legal system. Its aim is to describe the evolution of the common law of England, the legal system of England, and to introduce you to the study of constitutions as law, and to the legal aspects of constitutional systems of government. Efficiency is not your friend when it comes to cognitive growth. In order to keep our brains making new connections and keep them active, you need to keep moving on to another challenging activity as soon as you reach the point of mastery in the one you were engaging in. It is precisely in observing the intertwining of success and failure that chasing the flame makes it create its mark. With piercing insight, it reveals the pitfalls of international politics and details an intricate struggle between individual and institution. It haunts us with the poignant truth that even a great man can do only so much to reinvent the world. We know about bacteria, viruses, and microscopic protozoa. We can watch the way that these tiny agents move into our bodies and damage our organs. We have a growing understanding of how our body mounts defensive strategies that fight off these invaders, and have built some clever chemical that can help mount an assault on these biovillains. Optogenetics is a research tool in neuroscience that uses light to alter the activity of genetically engineered light-sensitive nerve cells to better understand the function and behavior of clusters of neurons in animals. Now, a team led by researchers from the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology has developed an implantable optogenetic light-emitting device that can be wirelessly recharged. Many people are under the impression that the water which comes out of a plant is clean. This is a common misconception. The function of a plant is to make the water cleaner, but it's not clean enough to drink. It could be used in irrigation. What a plant is trying to do is simply speed up a process that would naturally occur given more time. This means that a plant can create water that is safe to enter back into the water system, as it's so heavily diluted. The river then continues the water purification, acting as a form of the fourth stage. What produces these effects are familiar to neuroscientists: external light and dark signals that help set our daily or circadian rhythms, clock genes that act as internal timekeepers, and neurons that signal to one another through connections called synapses. But how these factors interact to freshen a brain once we do sleep has remained enigmatic. Noise restrictions are based on measurements on animals in captivity exposed to noise levels that induce a temporary threshold shift (TTS) in hearing. The TTS onset threshold is the lowest noise exposure, capable of inducing a small temporary reduction of hearing sensitivity, also known as auditory fatigue, with full recovery shortly after exposure. There were two types of soldier in the Roman army, the Roman legionary and the auxiliaries. The legionaries were the very best soldiers, and the auxiliaries were actually non-Roman citizens. Legionaries wore an undershirt made of linen and a woolen tunic. The linen helped the soldiers to stay cool, while the wool helped to trap heat, keeping the soldiers warm. Orientalists, like many other 19th century thinkers, conceive of humanity either in large collective terms or in abstract generalities. Orientalists are neither interested in nor capable of discussing individuals. Instead, artificial entities predominate. Similarly, the age-old distinction between Europe and Asia, or Occident and Orient, hides beneath very wide labels every possible variety of human plurality, reducing it in the process to one or two terminal collective realities. Exhilarating, exhausting, and intense, they are just some of the words used to describe doing an MBA. Everyone's experience of doing MBA is, of course, different through denying that it's hard and a demanding work whichever course you do. MBA is one of the fastest growing areas of studying in the UK, so that must be a sustainable benefit against form-in-one pain. An environment of rapid change, technological innovations, and increasing business competitiveness has highlighted the growing importance of management development. In particular, the general movement towards great employee involvement and making things happen through people has emphasized an integrating rather than a controlling style of management. IT may well change the way you live yet again. Welcome to the world mobile commerce, where your handheld device, be it a mobile phone, a personal digital assistant (PDA), or any other wireless application, will soon be used for commercial transactions. Skeptical consider these facts in Japan. Mobile phones are used for location-based services, where the mobile service providers tied up with a host of other players, such as restaurants, car rental companies, etc. When the mobile user enters that zone, messages from all these players are flashed on the mobile device. Location-based services are approved in several other countries as well. After a century of making sausage, the Alberto family is selling their namesake business to a large Canadian food conglomerate, but the local management says Alberto's employees, manufacturing plant and sponsored hydroplanes with the red, white and green livery will see few changes. Premium Brain Holdings, which is based in Richmond, BC, and owns dozens of food manufacturers and distributors, is set to buy substantially all of Alberto brand's assets. Nature offers no greater splendor than the starry sky on a clear dark night. Silent, timeless, jeweled with the constellations of ancient myth and legend, the night sky has inspired wonder throughout the ages, a wonder that leads our imaginations far from the confines of Earth and the pace of present day, out into boundless space and cosmic time itself. Neither golden eagles nor bald eagles are endangered species. The U.S. bald eagle population has more than quadrupled since 2009, from around 72,000 to 317,000 birds, but the U.S. golden eagle population is still relatively small, around 30,000 birds and at risk of declining. The information session is a 45-minute presentation conducted by an admission representative. Immediately following the session is a 90-minute walking tour of the campus, led by a student ambassador. Walking tours of the campus generally include classroom buildings, a residence hall room, a dining hall, the library, athletic facilities, performing art facilities, and the student union. It's time for this young loggerhead turtle to go to work. We can tether turtles in these little cloth harnesses, put them into this tank and do swimming place. University of North Carolina biologist Ken Lohman studies sea turtles that are programmed from birth for an extraordinary journey. Mother turtles buried the eggs on the beach and then returned to the sea, and the eggs hatched about 50 to 60 days later. Smoke from Australia's Black Summer bushfires of 2019 to 2020, which burned through 18 million hectares of land, produced a phytoplankton bloom larger than the entire country of Australia, located in the Southern Ocean. Since the Soviet Union successfully launched the first man-made satellite, Sputnik 1 in 1957, about 5,000 more satellites have been put into orbit around the Earth. About 2,000 of these are active, and although the rest are now dysfunctional, they remain in orbit, together with parts from all the rockets that carried them there. These remnants are often referred to as space junk, space trash, or orbital debris. Born in London to music hall parents, Charlie Spencer Chaplin and his brother Sidney were placed in an orphanage at a very early age. Becoming a vaudeville performer, he joined Fred Carnell's company in 1906. He made his film debut in Making a Living 1914 and introduced the famous City and Soft-Hearted Gentleman Tramp routine, which became his hallmark. Numerous films for various studios brought him world fame, all based on his mastery of pathos and slapstick acrobatics. The asteroid that slammed into the moon 3.8 billion years ago, creating the Imbrium Basin, may have had a diameter of at least 150 miles, according to a new estimate. The work helps explain puzzling geological features on the moon's near side and has implications for understanding the evolution of the early solar system.